Greetings and salutations, my artsy friends. How is everyone today? So good, I hope. Oh, I don't want to hear myself. Hey, Donna, how are you? I am so excited to, Hey, Lenora, how are you? I'm so excited to just get artsy, for artsy's sake today, you know? So let's see. Hey, Carmen. So, I was thinking that we need to, talk about a couple things that are coming up. And so, if you'd make a note of this, I am working on creating a calendar that I'm going to post on my website, or excuse me, on my Facebook page, and possibly my website. I just have to figure out how to do all of that. So please give me some grace on that. But so let's get artsy together apart. Our artist study will continue, and it will be January 16th. That's Saturday, January 16th from 9 until 11. Whimsical lettering will be January 23rd and from 9 until 11. I have so many cool, fun things planned for my online classes. Hey, Debbie Fredette. So in my lettering class, that's one that you will sign up through my website, and then it will be held in a private Facebook group. I have a snafu on there because however I posted the password for that class didn't seem to work. So Keely bought the class and wasn't able to see the password, so I will email her the password, but just know I'm really working on creating, like, once you sign up for the class, then you'll get a little you'll get a download, and part of that download is your password. And so I'm just working out technical difficulties on that. But I'm hoping that you having a password to get into the private Facebook group will work better for everybody than me trying to invite you and then people can't get in and blah, blah, blah. I hear everything that everybody's saying, and so I'm trying really hard to streamline it as much as possible. And then also, January 30th, my Gram's birthday, we will, that will be our next Bible journaling class from 9 until 11. I'm feeling like let's try those earlier times and see how that works for all of us. So, and my art journaling class, the $5 art journaling class, will be January 31st from 9 until 11. So that one is not available for purchase just yet. I just have to figure out a couple last things, and then I will post it on my website. It's in the works. It's just, I just have to write up a little more descriptions and then publish. So today, let's talk about something we haven't talked about in a long time, and that is, hey, Jamie Rice, watercolor pencils. So we talk about water-based mediums all the time. And you'll notice that I usually choose watercolors. But watercolor pencils have a huge place in the world of water-soluble mediums. And here's a couple of reasons why. So a couple of things that I was thinking about today is that you can certainly enhance. Hey, Melissa. You can enhance already painted things. So remember, we've talked before about how water soluble mediums. Yes, Deb, but give me a little, like a couple hours today, and then I'll send you a message that it's all set. Okay? Does that make sense? Oh, Happy New Year to you too, Miss Melissa. So our friend Debbie Miller had a little surgery. Well, it was a big surgery yesterday. So we're sending out our well wishes and thoughts and prayers to her today. Hopefully she'll pop on and watch for a little bit, give her something to think about other than being in the hospital. And our Jan Francis is having some surgery today too. And so I think it's today. And so let's really think positive for her too and send out those well wishes. So one of the things I have quite a few different kinds of watercolor pencils. So I have Derwent Inktense. Those are beautiful. Look at that beautiful array of colors. Lovely. I have Prima Marketing watercolor pencils. These are kind of just the basics. Hey, Renee. And I have the Mac Daddy Faber-Castell Aquarelle. Right? So a couple of things about watercolor pencils. Let's start with these. Is that you can paint with them in many different ways, right? You can paint with them dry pencil on dry paper and then add a wet brush. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me find a little piece of, here we go. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take, because we're going to fussy cut this, I have all of this watercolor paper that I can show you. Okay, dry pencil on dry paper and then a wet brush. So here we go. I dipped my brush in water and I'm going to tap off, right? And then, do you see how I can move that? I can move that color right here, right? So that's one way that you can paint with them. Another way is wet pencil on dry paper. So I'm not kidding. So we're actually going to dip our pencil into the water and we're going to color with that onto the dry paper. And that makes it almost like you can almost feel it like kind of melt under your hand. Do you know what I'm saying? Dry pencil on wet paper. So let's get a different color, but we're going to take some water on our brush and wet an area of paper. Let's pick a color that you can really see. Let's pick this blue. Okay. And now dry pencil on wet paper. And I like to continue, just like when I use regular colored pencils, I like to do that circular blend. Okay. And now here's another technique. You can take your pencil and your brush and pull color right off the end of your brush and paint with it. And this is quite intense. The color is quite intense when we do it this way. Okay? But then I thought that those are the main ones that most people do. But I wanted to talk to you about a couple of trickier ones, but would be super fun with florals, which is kind of our jam, right? So I'm going to make a wet area right here. And then I'm going to color on one end with one color. And then on the other end with another color. And then kind of wetted it one more time, and they should kind of work toward each other. Do you see how they're kind of blending in the middle? So that's kind of a fun technique to play with. There, because it's wet, it's kind of, remember I told you, it's like you can feel it like give and it melts. Right, so now let's pull this darker green and watch it move toward the lighter green. And that's already dry. I mean, that's the thing about water-based meat. It does dry quick, so you kind of have to work. But the payoff is usually worth it, right? So I'm going to pull this lighter green into the darker green, pull this darker green into the lighter green, and watch them blend. One of the advantages of, hi Carrie, one of the advantages of watercolor pencils is that because they are because they are a pencil, right, we can get into tight spaces. So we can get into, hey Marianne, we can get into these small areas. So let's get I'll show you something else. So let's get into the Faber-Castells. So remember what is opposite of blues and purples on the color wheel is orange, right? Like a yellow orange, because we're going to go in between blue and violet, right? So blue violet, which is kind of where we kind of went here. And then we did the orange background here. And now we're going to use a yellow orange for our letters, maybe. So let's start out kind of light. So we can apply color this way by just coloring it like this, and then coming in with a damp brush. And we're just, just like always, we're just going to slowly build that color. We want to just slowly, slowly build. So we're just going to do this lightest shade of kind of a yellow-orange. And then we will continue to build with it, build some shadow, build some depth, right? So we're moving that. And do you see, like for me to watercolor with a brush and apply watercolor into these open areas of these letters would be much more difficult than applying color with a pencil, right? So now let's see. Let's work on deepening that. So let's start at the top. Hey, Sarah. Let's start at the top, and we're going to just little by little kind of grow that. I don't know. Can you see how I'm building color? It's kind of subtle at first. Remember, we're just going to, all the same things that we do in other coloring, we're going to just follow that natural curve right here. Pencil is barely touching. We're just little by little building that color. So you can certainly use watercolor pencils as traditional colored pencils, right? You don't have to add water, but when you do, the cool thing is that it just turns itself right into paint as soon as water hits it. And that is because regular colored pencils have contain binders that are oil or wax, right? So that makes them easy to blend dry on the paper. Watercolor colored pencils contain a water-soluble binder, and that gives them the unique ability to, as soon as water hits it, it transforms them into paint. And so think about it as a precise watercolor paint. Does that help? And remember, we can, because this was painted with watercolors, just straight watercolors, we can layer one water-soluble product on top of another water-soluble product, right? So now I want to deepen just a little bit. So I'm deepening on the left. I'm pretending in my head that my light source is from over here. So I just want to, remember we talked about when you have, you kind of want to create almost like a rounding of the area that you're coloring, you're applying color to. Because the rounding, even if it's an angular item that you're applying color to, that's going to add depth. And that's kind of where we're going. Right? So here, do you see, I'm just back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. But all of these intersections right here, like where the opening meets the thin line, that's going to be darker, right? The opening right here is meeting the thin line, that's going to be darker. We're going to do it here too. But no, because this is such a small area, you don't need to put much, right? So here we got a straight up and down, so we're just going to build on the left side. You could build on the right side too, if you so chose. Okay, here we have one of those areas, right? And here we have one of those areas, right? So now we can, we can wet our brush if we want it to kind of be subtle. And just back, forth, and I'm barely touching my damp brush to my paper because I want it to be a pretty subtle gradation of color. And as I pull color, I'm tapping it off on my paper towel. So that I'm not moving all of that color through the whole things. You know what I'm saying? I just want to, little by little, blend. Create that really nice gradation. And remember how we sometimes wet our brush, tap it off, and then we push that color right into the line. We can apply that watercolor rule here too. And that's an and rule. I don't know that it's really like a big watercolor rule. All right. So I think I'm going to set this aside because I want this to dry before I apply some more color. And then I still need to figure out what color I want to do my banner. I don't know yet. Okay, so another thing that you could do is experiment with sharpening your pencil and applying color. Hey, Nance. Sharpening your pencil and applying color, or dulling your pencil and applying color. Well, those are all about the same. Let's see if I can find one that's, okay, this, okay, see how this one is dull? And we've talked before in 130, let's see, what do we have that's close to 130? What's this one? 124. Well, then come join us in Escape. Just escape the family drama. Everybody's got family drama and it stinks. So just escape and just color for a little while. I mean, sometimes the rest of us might not know. Do you know, like, I've certainly had family drama, but, you know, I know that I have, like, for an hour, I can just escape, and I love it. Okay, so remember we talked about experiment with sharpen, like how color goes on your watercolor paper with a pointy lead versus a rounded, dulled lead. Fiddle around with that. That's kind of interesting to just see. Well, certainly the pointy ends are certainly going to be much more precise, right? We can do precise shading, we can do just precise application of color, right? So I'm going to, let's see, what's this one? I'm going to, sorry, that was loud, wasn't it? I think I'm going to start to fiddle with this flower. And so, there's 132. What's this one? 188. Okay, so I'm going to start with, this is my lightest shade, ironically. Okay, 131, 132, and 130. So these are all kind of in the same family, and so let's start. You can certainly, so I can do the application of color with wet brush and then pulling color off the end, right? And then applying color. I mean, that is the cool thing about watercolor pencils and how versatile they are. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can apply color, right? So we're just going to start out with our base, light, washy base of color, like we always do. This way. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, Nance. I will try and have that up today. I know. It'll help us all, won't it? I will work on having that up today. It helps me to see kind of my vision for the year too. All right. But do you see how I'm just pulling color off the end of this pencil? And by doing that, I'm just creating watercolor, right? All right, so I have my base color. Another way that you can do this same kind of technique, but literally creating, hey Barbara Meyer, is that you can, oh, I brought a palette up here. Goodness sakes. Here we go. You can pull some color off of your pencil right onto a palette, right? And just start to fill it up with watercolor, right? And then you can take this and paint. So that's a cool technique too. You can do it like create a pool of water and then just pull that color into that pool of water. And that's pretty, that's pretty cool. So let's do our next layer. I'm going to create, you remember we talked about like if you're mixing a color, always mix way more than you think you're going to need. Because then you've got to try and go back. I mean, this isn't particularly mixed, but I hope you get my drift. Okay. I did change the time. I'm 10 to 11 now. I hope that works for everybody. You know what? We'll just experiment and see how it works. I'm way more of a morning person, and so mornings worked better for me. Let me know your thoughts. Okay, so now I'm going to pull paint that I pulled from that pencil. Hey, Keels, right? I'm going to pull paint that I pulled from that pencil and start to work on my shaded areas. Right? I'm just going to dab, dab, dab. So the cool thing is, as I'm painting, I'm noticing, like this. I certainly prefer to go light to dark. Some people like to go dark to light. I just find that quite difficult to get a nice. Oh, sorry, Nance. Did I say 9? If I did, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Would anybody prefer 9 versus 10? We're at the beginning of the year, so now's the time for us to make a plan. So let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty open. I just would prefer mornings to afternoons. And you know, can I just tell you, I just picked that time before the 2 o'clock. I just kind of picked that randomly, and there was no particular reason. I just picked a time. I just, you know, we were all just figuring it out. But now I feel like we have a moment to reset if we choose. Not that we can't reset whenever we want. Okay. You just found me again. Was I lost? It's possible. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and I'm going to just do that jiggy jaggy blend. And I'm just going to, some of that paint that I've moved, I'm going to pull down. All of these little strips, so we have like a kind of a ripply effect on our carnation petals. Rinse, damp brush. Again, rinse, damp brush. Oh, well, we were just talking about that, Barbara. I want to move this class and most of my classes to more morning than afternoon. So I chose 10, but I think I might have told Nancy 9. I might have told everybody 9. I'm so sorry about that. But if I did, we can certainly move to 9. That might work better for me. That might, so let's kind of bat it around today. Today I came on at 10. But just remember that you can always, I think the calendar will help too. Nancy, it'll help me, certainly. Mornings, I'm a morning person. I am not, well, I'm certainly not a nighttime person. That's for sure. I am boom, boom, out go the lights by 9:30, 10 o'clock. Our house is dark. Our house is dark after that. So, video interrupted. I wonder what happened there. All right. I think we have a little bit more. I'm pull some of that. So some of that color I should have worked into my other darker areas, but, and like always, we're just gonna like slowly build, slowly build, right? And remember, it's gonna get wrinkly, and that's okay. And just like always, you can dab off if you feel like things are like way too dark, or you get paint in an area that you didn't really want to paint, right? Tap, tap, tap. Like I wanted these tops of the petals, like here where it's folded over, I want this to be light. So I'm trying to get that deeper shade off of there, because I feel like that's a great way that we'll be able to have some nice dimension, right? Where the contrast of the light and the dark, because here, this is going to be the darkest area, right? Where the stippling is. And then where the petal curls over, that's going to be the lightest. So I think that'll create some really nice. Okay, you know what, Nance? That works for me too. That works for me too. Because then I could run my errands and do my, then I have the rest of the day to draw. You know what? I am kind of far down the line for my COVID shot, Sarah. I think, I just don't go anywhere, so I forget about how things are outside of my four walls. I did deliver a couple of belated Christmas presents yesterday, and I had to get gas, so I felt like it was a full day. I got gas, and I went to 2 people's houses, and we just socially distanced outside in their driveways. So it was kind of lovely. So, okay, so now I've pretty much applied my second layer of the second shade. Does that make sense? Does everybody kind of understand where I'm going with that? Then I'm just doing that tap, 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 right? And this is quite, oh, I still have some to be sent, Nance. That's for sure. That's for sure. Because remember the people that were supposed to come, then they didn't come, and blah, blah, blah. So I haven't even sent theirs yet. So that's on the agenda too. Honest to Pete, right? And every now and again you need to sweep your kitchen floor, crying out loud. Okay, so I've created 2 layers of color on this by pulling color off the pencil. I wanted you guys to see that. But then I also wanted to, so now I'm gonna take the 130 out of my Faber-Castell aquarels, and I'm going to apply color directly onto the paper. And I'm doing that same swirly, swirly, swirly. Hey, Kathy. Right? But I'm going to kind of blend it right into the darker spots. Right? Because then that will... But I'm deliberately leaving light spots because that's going to create our nice dimension. So I'm just swirly, swirly, swirly. And this is a much brighter shade of this same kind of color family. So that's going to immediately add dimension. And I'm, again, remember, I'm barely touching my paper. I'm just doing that nice swirly blend. I hope that you guys can see that. And now I'm just kind of following that line, following that line, following that line. And you'll see that this is a dull, whoops, there, a dull end of my pencil. So my blending, just like with regular color pencils, blending with a dull end is just blending bliss. It's just going to be subtle and beautiful. But we're just going to continue to build the color in those dark areas. Just like circle, 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 circle. And just take your time, because yeah, it's such a crazy time, isn't it? It is, Sarah, but I'm glad you're getting it. I'm glad you're getting it. I will get mine as soon as it's available to me, that's for sure. I want to have some semblance of a little bit of regular life. So like this one is folded, so in here, like the whole petal is folded. So I want to really build up the depth inside, but then also on the outside so it looks that ripply. You know how a carnation just looks ripply. Okay, I have some more notes. Let's see, is there anything else that I wanted to tell you about? Watercolor pencils. Here's the thing. they're portable, right? So you kind of have, the beauty of them is that you kind of have many mediums all in one, right? They can be a pencil, they can be watercolor, as we've shown. Like I said, you don't have to get them wet, right? You don't have to activate the color. You could just use them as a pencil. So think about that. That's kind of a cool benefit, right? So especially like if you were going someplace, if you took just your watercolor pencils, number one, there's usually a wide array of colors in a pack. And if there's not, you can absolutely blend them beautifully. You know, you can apply a color and then apply another color, right? So let's do 123. So this is a much deeper shade, but watch. We're going to do that same circle, circle, circle blend. And that's just going to brighten the entire flower. Hi, Rebecca. We're using watercolor colored pencils today and talking about their attributes. So, I mean, you can, do you see how this is already just applying this color on top of this, right, is already building the depth of this cantaloupe, carnation. So just start in those deep areas and pull that color out. Is this helping everybody? Does everybody have watercolor pencils? I mean, you can certainly, you could do these same effects with watercolors, and a brush. But I just wanted to, it's something we hadn't talked about in a while. Hi, Joni. All right. And I will just tell you, like, this is so not my jam. These colors are so subtle. And I just, you know, I was just having a conversation with a friend yesterday, one of the girls that I delivered a present to, and I said, she was like, you really like bright colors, don't you? And I said, yeah, I mean, the only colors I really don't like, I said, you know what, I really like vibrant colors. Even if it's pastel, but it's vibrant, I like it. But if it's quite toned down, it's just not my jam. But I love all colors, that's for sure. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm loving this, you girls. And I hope that everybody will pull out their, I'm telling you, know what? So pull them out, Nance, and I just try them in all those different ways. Do you know what I mean? Dry on dry, and then a damp brush, wet pencil on dry paper. That's kind of a cool, look at, we'll just take our pencil, dip it right in the water. And I told you the cool thing about this is that you can almost feel it like break. But do you see how vibrant that color is? Look at that. I hope that you guys can see how that, just this, look at that. Just wetting your pencil and adding color, has just really, like, that adds a big oomph, right? So I think I'm going to do some more of that. Down in here, and here. I mean, here's the thing. If you put it down and it feels too much, remember, it's watercolor. Just remember that it's watercolor. So if it's watercolor, you can move it with water, be sure to print your printable onto watercolor paper to have the most effective use of that. But yeah, that's like the coolest, right? Just this little, such a crazy little tip by putting your, I'm trying to use all of the tips on this one flower so you can see the difference. The difference in applications, right? So we've made watercolor right straight from our pencil. We pulled water from our pencil right onto that was our first layer, right? And again, I am barely touching my paper. Hey Lynn, how are you? We're playing with watercolor pencils today. So I'm trying to share all the techniques that I know. I mean, there's probably more out there. I'm sure there probably are. And don't think that I won't be open to trying them. Okay, so let's do that. So, let's try, so maybe, I think 32 was the first color we used on here. Okay, so this very top of this area right here, let's try to do the wetting the paper and then adding the pencil. So let's try that over here. So we're going to wet the paper. And let's take that, here we go, no, 124, I believe. I will tell you, so I picked the wrong color. Whatevs. Okay, so I will tell you that wetting your pencil is going to be the most intense, right? You're going to get the most intense color, like taking color right from your pencil, wetting the end of your pencil and coming down is the most intense, right? The most vibrant, I should say. Let's see. So let's let's see. Okay, so I'm going to make a wet spot down here. And now let's pick a totally different color so you can really see what I'm talking about. And I'm going to take this green and I'm going to color on top of the wet. So I'm just adding color, like just circle. You know, that's kind of how I like to apply color. Because then you're not, the more you do this circle, then you're not going to have line, line, line. Do you know what I mean? And lines are kind of hard to get rid of once they're in there. So if you do that circle blend, let's see if that, I don't have the kind of Archon where I can just lower it and bring it back up. So you let me know if you can see the if you can see the, if you want me to pull it up closer, and if it's a clear shot, if it's a clear image, you know. Okay, so what's the, hey Sharon, let's see, dry pencil on wet paper, we just did that. Pick up color with a moist brush, we did that. Wet pencil on dry paper, okay, so we did that. And dry pencil on dry paper, we did that too. It blends so good. It blends so good. Just a sec, drink. All right. Let's see. Oh, I know. I have these flowers that I had painted, remember, in last Thursday's class, I believe. So, hey Stacy. So if you are brand new here, if you would please follow me at Corbiere-Scott Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it. Then once you've liked and followed me on all of these platforms, if you would come back and ask to join our private Facebook group, Let's Get Artsy with Corbiere-Scott, I'm telling you, it's the greatest. It's the greatest. It's the greatest community. Everyone is so loving and so kind and so creative. You can only benefit. And one of the questions here is, what is your email? And so because these classes are free, that's my only price for admission, is if you would please give me your email address, so then I can I send out email. So I will probably be sending out an email today with more what's happening this month. So this is a way, by you giving me your email, that's a way that I can keep you in the loop of what's coming up, new things that are happening, new products that are coming out, updates to my website, whatever. Anyway, if you would please do that, I would greatly appreciate it. Hello, Maria. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is, so this I painted with, was it with watercolors or was it with Karen markers? Whatever. They're both water-based products, right? But what if we wanted to brighten them a little bit with our watercolor pencils? So let's take, this is number 109. Let's do the dip, right? So let's just enhance this, the gold in the yellow. So it's kind of almost buttery. I just love it. It's so pretty. So you can use it on top of other water-based mediums. It seems like this was I'll have to go back and look on at the video, but I think it was either watercolors or Karen markers. Gosh, I don't remember. But I'm even going over this deeper shade because I really want that nice creamy yellow to kind of be the base of this beautiful carnation. And that's the loveliness of a carnation, isn't it? That It can be any color we want. I love that. You know, they certainly have a wide array of colors from nature, but then, you know, people make them rainbow colored, or, you know, how you can put them in a glass with food coloring. So you could, I mean, people get them to match crazy colors for weddings and all kinds of things. I just think that's so cool that you can add, you know, the sky is the limit, which is a good thing, isn't it, in the artsy world? So I'm really digging that. I'm really digging building up my color with this. But we could certainly work on, so this is kind of just applying some color in strategic places, and then we can, sorry, drink again. We can certainly start to work on our stem, which would be totally fun. So let's get like I kind of dig doing a wide array of greens or yellows or whatever the thing that we're using. And ooh, I wanted to show you this other thing. Look at, I can mix and match my Derwents with my Faber-Castells, right? With my Primas, right? Because look at this green. Shut it! Kind of digging that. So for this one, let's just start with coloring, applying some color. I'm going to be careful about having it meet up here because I don't want the yellow to kind of seep into my green. So I'm just going to, little by little, put like a base of green. So the cool thing about mixing and matching is that one limey green and another limey green and another limey green are all a little bit different, but will work in conjunction with each other. So let's take another brush. This is a number 4. I'm going to wet that. Oh, Denise, I totally want you to join us. We have lots of opportunities for you to get into art with us. You need to join us. We have ourselves a time. And you know, it's not, all of my classes are, like these classes are an hour. My paid classes are 2 hours. But if you can only spare an hour, you know, this is just a nice little escape from whatever is going on. I understand, Denise, I understand. But please, I would love it if you joined us. So now, I applied that little bit of lime green from the Prima. And you see that's quite yellow, which kind of works with the golden petals of our carnation. We're kind of staying in the same family, which is kind of nice. You don't necessarily have to, but we could certainly play with that. So we should let that dry a little bit. Down here, remember this is the one I believe I did with my Hydra colors, which were the shimmery, glittery ones. So we could certainly enhance this. Let's see, what do we got? I have this nice fuchsia, right? So we could certainly build down here. So we can just add it like a pencil, right? So we can just do that circular blend. You can just follow those natural curves. All the stuff we always do on everything. And just jiggy, 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 because then there's not a direct line, right? And you know, this is quite ripply because it was so wet. But remember, once it's cut out, we can break the fibers of this watercolor paper by just running our hand underneath, or back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, one way, and then back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, the other way. And that will help alleviate some of those wrinkles. So, and because, remember, because this is a pencil, I can be much more precise as I apply little bits of this fuchsia to just add another layer of dimension. And once it's added, then I can, because I'm doing it dry onto a painted surface, remember, I can then decide if I want to wet it and blend it out a little bit more, or just leave it as is, because that's another benefit of watercolor pencils, is that we can use them strictly as a colored pencil, or as a wet medium, as a watercolor. Because remember, that binder, the water soluble binder that's in a watercolor pencil, gives it the unique ability to turn into paint, which is like the coolest, right? And are you seeing, like, can you see the areas where I've used the watercolor pencil versus the areas where I haven't? I hope that you can see the more depth of color. And just follow that line, especially if it's a funky line like this, but it's kind of curvy. Be sure to, you want to kind of enhance it, right? Because then you're going to, I mean, if you think about a flower and its petals, the funky curves and curls and rounded areas of a flower are enhanced by light and shadow. How are we doing on time, you guys? Oh, whoops. I'm using all kinds. Denise, or Darlene, here's the thing. You can tune in, so you can come back and watch the whole thing beginning to end, because I will save it in my videos on my Facebook page. So if you would follow and like me and Corbiere-Scott Designs on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it. That's for sure. And then ask to join our private Facebook group. You will be so happy. So here are the watercolor pencils I'm using today. Derwent Inktense, Faber-Castell, whoops, where's my lid? Oh, I have a whole, Faber-Castell Aquarelles, there, and Prima watercolor pencils. I like the basics because I can mix and match them. I can blend, I can color blend, I can do all kinds of things with a basic set. But if you could do these same techniques with Crayolas, if that's what you can afford, if that's what's in your price point, you can certainly do the same. Remember, make art no matter what supplies you have. No matter what supplies you have, you can make art. You just need to figure out, you need to get to know them. Know what the capabilities are on different substrates, on different papers, on different, if you were doing this on notebook paper, you would figure out different, how much water you should use, how much pressure you should put on. Like, you just need to get to know your supplies. Ink tints and Faber-Castell, I think, are probably brighter. But that's like straight from the pencil. Do you know what I'm saying? You could certainly get those same, or work on getting those same intensities with other watercolor pencils. You just need to, like I said, get to know them. Do you know what I'm saying? And you know how you get to know them? But practice, 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 practice. So now I'm going to come in with my Inktense Apple Green on top of my Prima. I'm attracted to brights too, Denise. I am. It's kind of it's my jam. So I'm just coming in and scribbling little bits of this next limey green sort of color over my stippled areas, right? Again, I'm barely touching my paper. I'm going to come in with a wet brush, tap it off, and then blend out that color. So be sure to what, Denise? Oh, bright colors? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to challenge myself to do things in more, like I was saying earlier, I prefer bright, certainly, but I think it's vibrancy is more my, I can certainly do things in other shades, in other, you know, like this is quite pastel for me, but it's vibrant. And I think that's the, I just don't like washed out colors. That's just not my jam. Pastels are kind of really not my jam, but I can appreciate them. You know, I mean, it's like, there's lots of artists that we've studied or that we will study in my Saturday class, that maybe that's not my style, but I certainly appreciate the work. I appreciate the intensity of the artist. I appreciate the research and practice that got them to where they are. And my art can only be enhanced by being inspired by them, right? Because you're going to pick up something, you're going to learn something from everything in life, certainly. So be sure to, I will post my calendar today on my Facebook, on my Corbiere-Scott Designs Facebook page. So be sure to like and follow me there. And that will talk about what is happening in the artsy world of Corbiere-Scott Designs. I have some new classes on the horizon. I have some classes that we started in 2020 that we're going to continue. I have free classes. I have some purchased classes. I have new art coming out. I have, well, you name it. I just, you know what? I just kind of live and breathe art. So, I think it's probably time for me to say goodbye. Am I over an hour? Probably. My dad wonders how I could have something to talk about all this time. You know what? I just do. I just do, because I'm sitting here at my kitchen table with all my friends, all my artsy friends. So I'm going to probably take the dogs for a walk and then come back and paint a little bit. And so I thank you all immensely for joining me here today, and look forward to an amazing 2021. Way more art, way more color, way more friendship, way more fun. So until Thursday, on Thursday, let's you know what, I will put out what we're going to play with on Thursday, but it will all be based on art printables, that's for sure. And I presume it will be the Grandma Chickie ones again. But I think I really want to do some card assemblies. I've seen some cool ideas out there, and so I think I want to fiddle around with that, with some folds and some die cutting, and with our already painted images, because we all have those stacks of sheets that are all painted, just not made into cards. So let's do that on Thursday. Let's do some card assembly and finishing, you know. We like to do all those little artsy finishes. So thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate you being here with me. Look for new and fun things happening. My mother-in-law got me some tulips that are sitting on the kitchen table right here with me. So look for some tulips in the future, because I just have taken like a million pictures and I've started to sketch them, and you know, she asked me where I get my inspiration, and I said, absolutely everywhere. It could be a color combination, it could be a pattern, it could be, please, everywhere, everywhere. So I hope you too will be inspired with some colors, maybe with some patterns, whatever. Anyway, thank you so very much, and I will see you on Thursday. Thanks, you guys.